more love, more joy, everything.
It's inspired young people.
Inspiration comes from within you. When you clear out the garbage that's in your mind, you then create space for something better, more beautiful to come in.
Let's have life and have it more abundantly.
I say yes.
It's like taking a workshop. I get to be in my pajamas.
We have a very active imagination, which is why it's important to learn how to harness it and then point it in the direction you want to go.
I listen to your show every day.
It's time now for Living Your Inspired Life with Susan Burrell. Susan is no-nonsense, inspirational, motivational, and fun.
This is positive talk radio.
Practical wisdom for everyday life.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Now, here's Susan.
And welcome to Living Your Inspired Life. I'm Susan Burrell, and I'm so grateful that you're joining us today. We have a phenomenal website that is continuing to develop, and it's called livingyourinspiredlife.org. So I invite you to go and tune in and tune up and develop your power perspective. And today we're going to start a whole new topic to talk about and contemplate for the next few weeks. We've got some exciting guests coming on to fortify this topic. And in the studio with me today is my cohort, Todd Waddington. Hey, Todd.
Hi, Susan. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're back.
It's wonderful to be back.
Back in the booth.
I had I have a lot going on, an abundant life right now. And when I got your email at first, my knee-jerk reaction is always fear. It's like, oh, I have to go I want to do yeah, just do it. Just do the show, Todd, because and I know I've already looked over some of your notes, and it looks perfectly aligned with what I was experiencing and what I know I will experience by showing up.
Oh, I can't wait to hear how you back this up. So the topic that I want to develop over the next few weeks is gratitude plus generosity equals abundance. And we're coming into the holiday seasons, and also, you know, we're getting close to a new year, and people are going to want to reset their intentions and things like that. And so I've been contemplating this idea of gratitude. There's the idea that if you are grateful, it will open the door for abundance to flow into your life. It'll open the door for greater good to come in. But I've also been adding this idea of being generous, because what I'm developing in my personal practice is a giving out first. A generosity of spirit, if you will. And what I'm noticing is when I give first, but from a heart-connected place, you know, from an open-hearted place of love, then my life enriches. You know, I get the riches of life, and then this abundance, whether it's monetarily or with friends and, you know, better relationships, begins to blossom because I am in that place of open-hearted generosity.
And I think that's the missing piece that a lot of us miss, because I hear about this, the whole idea of we give and then we get back and all this stuff. And I think some people just think, including especially myself, that, oh, okay, I should write a check to my church. I should send a box of cookies to so-and-so, you know, and sometimes it is, I won't say a purely selfish motive. That sounds like I'm being really hard on myself, but this idea that something's going to show up because I did this for that. But what the missing piece for me that I just got from you is that it's already infused with love. It's already infused with this idea of, I really want to do something. I heard Maya Angelou once say, I intend to be a blessing today.
Oh, I love that.
And it sounds to me like that's what your intention is infused with.
I intend to be a blessing today. I love that. So it is that because one of the affirmations I've been working with over the last year, actually, last year is I am love, I am loving, and I am loving more than I ever have in my life. And I'm finding that when I use that, when I contemplate that, when I get into those places where I feel like I was going into a meeting last week and I was really not wanting to be in that meeting, because I really didn't want to deal with the person that I was going to have to deal with, and I was going to have to be straight up about my feelings about what was going on in this group and organization, and I always get nervous about that. And I thought, no, before I went in, I thought, I am love, I am loving, and I am loving more than I have in my life. And what happened is in that meeting, I walked in being love, and everybody was in a place of openness and willingness to listen and to to unify in the group effort of the organization where we were working with, and it was lovely. And so the person that I thought I was going to have to deal with was not so horrible. You know what I mean? It just like naturally happened in a really good way. So so this idea of generosity really for me comes to, it begins to open, how do I explain this? We talk about being generous, and I think a lot of people think that in being generous, it means that you've got to really effort to do something,
Yeah,
and
that's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah. And I don't think that generosity is an effort. It's an awareness. We have to be aware that this is an opportunity to be generous, whether it's being, and this does go hand in hand with gratitude, gratitude plus generosity equals abundance. Being generous means also being appreciative of what's going on around you and in your life. So that even being generous of spirit can be when you're at the checkout stand at the supermarket, to look at the person who's across from you checking you out and be generous of spirit, really see that person, smile at that person, say hi to that person, and really appreciate that person is doing this job for you.
Yes. It's and what I'm hearing is that, I try to make things happen all the time. I try to make it happen,
Really?
And what I'm hearing and what I understand is that when I experience the feelings that you're talking about, what's underlying the generosity is love, is sort of just an openness, a willingness to step outside of myself. And maybe is that at the core of what generosity is?
I don't know. I think it's a question.
Not so much about serving me. I mean, I will be served when I get my little self out of the way and allow that love to come pouring through.
Well, let's talk about that, because as I was contemplating this idea for today, I realized first and foremost that we have to be generous with ourselves. That in that that means being kind and compassionate and forgiving. And so I was asking myself, well, how many times am I really generous with myself? And I had this long pause in my brain, because I was thinking, well, when was the last time I was generous with and that doesn't mean gorging on ice cream, generous, that doesn't mean going out and spending $1 bazillion for a new outfit, but being generous of spirit with myself, of being kind and loving, and, whatever's occurred in my life, it's okay, compassionate, like you would be with another person.
Right. Well, I had a chiropractic appointment this morning, and I really wanted to cancel it because I have a lot going on in my life right now. And I thought, no, you need to honor that. You have a lot, because I have physical stuff going on with me. I was traveling. We're doing a whole remodel thing in our home. So my body is all doing all these things. And I thought, why wouldn't, this is exactly the time that I need to show up. And I know I've said this before when we were doing the show some years back, that maybe it's a guy thing or something, but it's really a challenge for me often to just, it seems indulgent or something, to show up at an appointment because there was a massage first and then the chiropractic appointment. And let me tell you something, I felt so much different, because the massage therapist was like a real therapist. She was talking to me the whole time, and I was processing questions about career and all this stuff, and that would not have happened if I didn't go to that appointment.
If you hadn't have shown up for yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself. It's interesting because in asking the question, how can I be generous with myself? It starts that creative flow happening. And then what happens is then I can begin to ask the question of how can I be generous with other people? And there are amazing organizations out in the world that are fueling generosity. We're going to be having later in the month, we're going to be having conversations about a generous economy. What is that? And what does that look like? And I was researching this micro-lending organization called Kiva.org. I invite you to go on the website and see what they're doing, because micro-lending is about taking a small amount of money, $25 a month even, And that Kiva, what they do is they use your small amount of money to invest in people and places that are trying to build local business or build an economy or even just have a grassroots movement of investing so that they can become prosperous. So like one of the ideas is I heard a couple years ago that you could do micro lending through Kiva, through several organizations, but there was this one place where there was a small village in Africa, somewhere in Africa, where the women really wanted to develop a business that would be sustainable, and so that they could they could save money to put their kids in college. And this is a small village. And so the microlending paid for them to buy goats and paid for them to learn how to make yogurt and market it to the local communities surrounding them.
Oh, wow.
And then what happens is when you loan this money, you do this microlending, then that group commits to paying the lender back first. And then once the lender's paid back, then the borrower, everything is their money. So in essence, you're funding a new business, and you can do it anywhere around the world. And this is this is what Kiva says. The Kiva lenders combat poverty daily by making small loans to borrowers around the world. We believe in fair access to affordable capital for people to improve their own lives. And some of the people that have participated in this, they said, I want to do this because I want to help those who want to help themselves. I want to help people that want to help themselves. I love that. And another person said, I want to do this because I want to participate in building a better future. And that another person said, I'd like to contribute to other people's success. Now, in a capitalistic economy, not to trash capitalism, but when do people go, I want to contribute to other people's success? It really has been more of the paradigm of dog eat dog, and I got to get there first, and competition. And this idea of microlending is about any individual, doesn't matter who you are, taking a small amount of money to support another individual in becoming sustained, and abundant. And to me, that's a great idea of generosity, of how I can be generous for other people.
Kiva.org, Kiva.org.
Oh, I'm so glad you spelled that out. Yeah. So then again, this idea of generosity doesn't necessarily mean money. Going back to this idea of open-hearted love and kindness, being generous of spirit means also that we can, when we are in that place of at least in my experience, I don't know, that open-heartedness begins to connect me with the people that or the ideas even, the people that have the ideas that I'm looking for, that begin to connect me into that place where we can have where I find the next step of the person that has the information I need in order for me to progress in my life by being open-hearted and generous. Otherwise, this idea of, how do I say this? This idea of making money, right? Because we're talking about abundance is money, right? So this idea of making money, and I'm working with several clients. I have this one client that is so focused on how to make money and sustain his family that his perceptions have become narrow. So he's focused on, this is how I've been making money up until now, and this is how I'm going to continue to do it because I know this works. And yet I get that his creativity and his soul essence, if you will, that the real part of who he is shriveling up like a prune because he's not opening up to a bigger place of I guess maybe trusting the universe, trusting that the universe is providing. And I found for myself in those places where I'm in that generous spirit, that open-hearted, loving place, those people that I need to connect with are then put in my path. I just naturally walk into them. And what I'm watching with this particular client is everything is getting his life is
drying up.
Yep, it's getting worse. You know what I mean? Seemingly worse. Because if we don't pay attention to what's happening in our lives, and like you were saying earlier, you know, it's like becoming fearful of what is abundance and how can I have it. If we open up and become generous of spirit and become an open-hearted place of love, then the infinite field of possibilities opens up for us, and we can pick anything. But when we're operating from a base of fear and have not, I don't got any, and they got it all, and how do I get it? Then it just short circuits the abundant flow of the universe. It short circuits our good coming in.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a lecture I heard Marianne Williamson deliver, and she was talking about, I think she was talking about success and successful people. It may have been something like that. I don't remember the exact topic, but she said, you know what makes people, you know, the people that we want to be around, the successful people, what separates them from the rest? And she stopped and she said personality. And that shifted some huge thing in me,
well,
because
what does that mean
started to think about it. Well, it's the personal, like, who wants to be around a downer? You know, and somebody who's negative all the time.
Right.
Boy, they better really have something to offer, or they very quickly will lose friends and acquaintances, and they're not going to get hired anywhere.
Right.
And this generosity of spirit idea is, you know, that's the best part of your personality coming forward. You're going to get those phone calls. You're going to get, you know, people that want to be around you to support you. You can see it in any business, you know, and there'll be people on the sideline saying, well, she gets this and she gets that. And you say, well, yeah, but look what she's doing.
Yeah.
Look at how, you know, I have this discussion with my daughter all the time. She's 10 years old. And she comes home from school and talks about all the things that, you know, things didn't happen for her or go her way. And she's, you know, really moping. And I'll say, Maya, you know, you need to, you know, I basically talk to her about adjusting her attitude and cleaning up her side of the street. Anyway, I'm going way off on this thing.
But
it is about personality, and generosity of spirit is so much about how everything gets handled.
Right. And the positivity that you're talking about of being the person that is going to focus more on the positive aspects of a situation as opposed to the negative aspects does draw to you. So and that's that law of attraction, law of what I like to call the law of circulation. And that
right.
A lot of people have been talking about the law of attraction for years now, and a lot of people aren't attracting so much, you know, and part of that, they're stuck. And part of that is because when it was presented out into the public, there were things that were pieces, I believe, that were missing, which is, you know, you don't set out to get, you set out to be. Mm-hmm. If you can be that place of attraction, can be that place of positiveness, can be that place of love, then the circulation that occurs naturally in the universe, in the creative process of life, giving out and giving into, happens naturally for you. It's less effort. But you know, a lot of people go, well, I did my vision board. I've been visualizing. I had somebody come up to me this weekend. I've been doing my vision board. I'm like, wow, really good. That's good. Nothing wrong with the vision board.
No, not at all.
It's a good tool to focus.
I'm laughing at myself.
I know, me too. It's a good tool to focus on. But what happens is, particularly this person had said this whole vision board thing, I happen to know that there's a disconnect within that individual where that person's not necessarily going to receive what's on her vision board because she's not, we got to talk about it, because she's not giving in, she's giving in a way that I notice she has intention, there's strings attached.
Right. That's what I was talking about earlier. If I write this check to my church,
then I should get something.
Yeah. Everything will unfold beautifully and magically.
Yeah,
and happy ever after.
Right. Yeah. Cinderella. You know, but the truth is if you like Cinderella showed up at the ball without expecting to meet the prince, you know, she wasn't going to meet the prince.
Yeah, she was just excited to go.
She was going to be to experience something she would never be able to experience in her life and have fun. So that goes back to the personality thing. She was having fun. And so, of course, the prince goes, hey, Cindy, I got a ring after I find your shoe.
Yeah.
But the people that, like this one person, that when you are trying to activate that side of the law of attraction to get abundance, to get the thing you think you want, you have got to give into it first. You've got to be the thing that you want. Not, now how do I say this? Because this is a very fine line. It's a very kind of mystical line here that we're talking about, because people that, let me think. Okay, so years ago I was an actress. I was an actress. And I had a vision board, and I wanted to be a soap opera star, right? And so I was visioning, I was looking at that board, I was writing my whatever affirmations and things like that, and I could not get arrested. I got auditions, but I could not get the gig. And part of that is because I had an expectation on the universe that, well, I did my vision board, now you got to give it to me.
And it's got to look like this.
And it's got to look like a soap opera part. Hello? What if it looks like something completely different? Well, it did in my life. It looked like, be going into television production, completely different. But there are people that short circuit that law of circulation because all they're focusing on is trying to get what it is they think they want. And when we can move more into the presence of being aware of everything that's around us, and then being grateful for the things that are around us, it begins to activate because what happens is we open up that heart that's protected, and the gratitude fuels the generosity that begins to start that circular motion of givingness, what I call divine givingness, because the universe, life just wants to give to us anyway. But we're so busy trying to get that we don't really understand that we are being given things already. So in the idea of gratitude plus generosity equals abundance, both of them play a part, I think. In being grateful, we've talked about this on Living Your Inspired Life a lot. This idea of gratitude will, when you're in the dumps, and feeling sorry for yourself, people say, well, then start a gratitude journal. Start writing and looking about what you're grateful for. And I've tried that.
I'm laughing because it's always the last thing you want to do. And
it's the last thing.
It is good for you.
And it is good, and it does help. And sometimes for me, when I'm in that really dark place, I can't find gratitude anywhere. But this idea of being generous, how can I be generous with someone? That I could do. And I notice a lot of people, we talk about being generous isn't just about giving money somewhere. It's about showing up to give of your time or your creative abilities somewhere. I have a friend who's a graphic artist, and oftentimes I'll call her for something, and she'll gift me her time to do an ad or because she believes in what I'm doing. But that's generous.
It is generous.
And if in fact, I called her about something today, a completely unrelated thing, and she said, "I'll gift you my time. I'm right there. I'm on it." Now that's showing up, giving your talent. It's lots of people who have something to sell, right? They have a product, whether you're a graphic artist or a vacuum cleaner salesperson. A lot of people don't understand that sometimes if you give away, I'm not talking about give it away all the time, but give away your talents to a person or a place that you believe in, that you want to back, and support, that opens up the door for abundance to flow in. But if you give yourself away thinking that you're going to get, I years ago I had a client. She came to me with money problems, and so what she wanted to do was do a trade with me. I'll give you. She was a cosmetologist. I'll give you a facial if you give me a free session. I'm like, well, what's your problem? Why are you coming to see me? Well, we don't have enough money. I said, okay, so that's the thing you got to stop. Because I found out she was giving her skills to the guy that sells fish, and giving her skills to her doctor and giving her skill. And I was like, no, that's why you're not making any money. You're giving yourself away. So there is a fine line of finding the place where you can be generous, you can give of your time or your talent to a place that you believe in, and then be open to receive whatever the abundant flow is that's coming to you.
And recognize it when it shows up.
That's a good thing.
Because if we don't recognize it, then it's just, it all increases. You talked about circulation earlier, and I think recognition is kind of like fertilizer for all of that whole process.
Well, when you say recognize, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is, I can very easily, I can relate to the client you were talking about earlier where life was drying up. I came out here 8 years ago and things didn't go the way I thought they were going to go. And so my personality kind of shrinks and I forget where I was going.
Well, you're talking about recognizing.
And so I don't, so being closed down sometimes, I don't recognize the good that is flowing into my life.
Right, or the opportunity.
The opportunities.
That's staring you in the face. Yeah. So this sounds like, as we're talking, Todd, I'm getting this idea that this is like a machine that has to have oil in order to work. The joints, the gears have to be greased, and so in doing, a lot of times people they'll do a practice of gratitude to kind of get them out of the dark hole they're in. And then once they're out into the sunshine, they forget to be grateful. So it's almost like it's a Band-Aid. Oh, I did the Band-Aid thing. Now I can take the Band-Aid off because I don't need it anymore because, I'm out of the hole. I'm good. But really, we have to grease these gears all the time. It becomes a continuous practice of gratitude and generosity to fuel my abundance, and to recognize, like you said, that these are the practices I need to maintain on a regular daily basis so that my good, my abundance, my financial well-being can be continually sourced, continually flowed into. So so I'm changing topics slightly and might sound completely, but we are recording at the time of the typhoons that have hit the Philippine Islands, and there are estimated thousands of mortalities. And I have a friend in Ojai who is from the Philippines, and she started a fundraising program through a company called the International Rescue Committee, and they are at rescue.org. And this group has been in business, so to speak, doing this kind of service, providing service for, I think, about 20 years. And this organization takes the donations, and they 90% of the donations they receive goes directly to the target, goes directly to the area and people that need the help. And they are at the site, whether it's New Orleans or Haiti or now the Philippines. They're at the site within 72 hours. They're volunteers that have been trained with the money, with the supplies, with whatever water.
This is wonderful. This is huge because
huge.
Everything you hear on the news is that, well, there's no organization. There's no telling whether your money will go, where it will go, whose hands it'll get into. 90% is amazing.
Yeah, they have an awesome track record, and they supply whatever is needed. They have there's a bunch of watchdog groups that have been watching this particular company, the International Rescue Committee, and they have consistently awarded them high marks because they are able to get the funding to the places that the people that are donating want it to go.
Rescue.org.
Rescue.org. And my friend Tessie up in Ojai has developed a link. So rescue.org also will allow you to create a website so you can have donations go to your particular charity or whatever rescue thing that is happening. And so my friend Tessie has developed the website. It is HTTP, with the colon and the backslash thingies, and then you type in diy.rescue.org/OHI. And I went to the site this morning, and it comes up, and you can directly donate through this website, and it will get to the Philippines for whatever doctors are needed, whatever water is needed, sanitation, all of those things. I'm so thrilled that we can do this immediately. Years ago, when things like this would happen, earthquakes or hurricanes or trauma and fires, it would take a while for us to find how we could participate in helping out. And now with places like this, rescue.org, we can go right to the source practically and be of generous spirit. It's interesting too. What I notice is when there is a tragedy, that's when people want to help. I don't. They want to give. They want to give of their time. They want to give their money. They want to. Human beings are innately compassionate, I think, and innately loving. And I think what happens is when this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, when we get ensconced in our own little lives, on that gerbil wheel, trying to make our existence have meaning, like my client I was describing, we get to have a narrow vision, and we forget that there's other people out there in the world that may need our help all the time, not just when there is a huge fatality rate, not just when there's a tragedy, but there are people out there that need our help all the time. And so it's interesting how there's been a series over the last several years, of ongoing earthquakes at different parts of the world, and tsunamis and hurricanes and fires and explosions, and it's almost like globally we're being called to wake up and become aware of that we are all one. We're all interconnected. And
absolutely. The interesting paradox for me, and I'm definitely a victim of this, is that if I give up what I'm doing to keep my own fragile life moving forward and go to do X or Y, that I'm going to lose what little I have. That's the biggest, if I could put it in one fear statement, that's what my, and I'm sure other people experience that as well. But I watch other people who, so in other words, if I take the time to do that, I'm going to lose the time over here, and then I won't get this completed. That's just a small example.
Right, but a lot of people have that going on.
But I have a friend, Carol. I'll say her name because she's just so fabulous. Carolyn Montgomery. She lives in Manhattan. She and her partner owned I don't think they still have the same restaurant, but when 9/11 happened, she went down to Ground Zero and worked for at least a year cooking for people. Just cleared everything she did. But what I know about Carolyn, going back to that personality thing, is that she's hugely popular and positive and kind, and she doesn't want for anything. And I'm not saying she's like filthy rich, but I just mean life happens really beautifully for her, and it's because she's got such a great attitude about everything. I'm still amazed at that whole thing, that she could just push her whole life aside and, I'm going to go cook. I'm going to go down to Ground Zero, and that's what I'm going to put all of my focus on.
And it sounds like because she has a restaurant, doing the thing that she does naturally, and she's going to give that away in order to support other people to regain their lives.
Right.
That's huge generosity to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we become aware of that we can do that, even I'm not gonna say give a year of your life away, but certainly there's time during the week that you can give to someone somewhere. There's so many nonprofit organizations that I just love and adore, nonprofits, because those are the people that have committed to doing something really fabulous in the world. And whether it's connecting people to each other, like we had the Weave program on women of Women of Economic Ventures program, and where you're connecting up women that want to have small businesses and become entrepreneurs, or where I was just working on the film festival, the Ojai Film Festival, where there's a dedication to film and art and music and beauty, all those things. It's interesting living in Ojai. Most of the people I know are involved in at least 2 to 3 nonprofit groups. And I'm fascinated by that because, again, it's like, well, where do you have the time to do that? But they do, because it's what gives them joy and meaning and fun. It's fun. But to do it also because, I've asked a couple of people, why do you do it? Well, why wouldn't I? It's a place where I can serve, where I can be of service, where I can give to somebody else because I know that my life is good.
Well, you had said something in the beginning of the program about capitalists and how, where do we find that in a capitalist society? And I think that's one area, all of these wonderful nonprofits that spring up because they can, which may be more about democracy than capitalism. But still, I mean, we do have an incredible wealth of, you think of nonprofits as having no money, and some have so much money that they don't need the donations. Southern Poverty Law Center is huge, and they basically look for homegrown terrorists. They're all about white supremacists and racism and healing from that angle. But I was going to send some money to them. I shouldn't be saying this over the air, but somebody said, well, they're doing okay. But I think it's great because that's a cause I really believe in.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have a lot of money.
Yeah. There's also nonprofits like the Wounded Heroes organization. I don't have that off the top of my head, but they support the soldiers that are coming back and they're disabled, and it helps them to regain their lives, and it supports them in coming back into their life again as whole as they can be, having been wounded, and helping them to develop skill sets so that they can then have a life again, So it's so fabulous. This is all about generosity. So I think what we're going to do is take a short break. We're talking about gratitude plus generosity equals abundance on Living Your Inspired Life, which is on News Talk 1590 KVTA. We're going to take a short break and be right back. Welcome back to Living Your Inspired Life. I'm Susan Burrell, and we are here on Sundays on News Talk 1590 KVTA. And if you miss anything, go to the website, Living Your Inspired Life. You can get caught up on the past shows and surf our website and find some inspirational tools to use so that your life can have more meaning, and you can tune in to who you are and experience that and live the life you were born to live. So we're talking now, I have Todd Waddington in the studio with me, and we've been talking about this idea that I've been contemplating for a few months, which is about gratitude, having an attitude of gratitude, plus an experience of generosity brings abundance into our lives. And I wanted to go at abundance, the idea of abundance, which generally people tie in with prosperity, which generally people tie in with money. I wanted to go with this money idea from a different POV, not what do I need to do to get money, but what do I need to be in order for that money or that abundance, that prosperity to flow into me? And in what I've been experiencing is, and noticing in my life as I watch other people, is that quality of generosity and giving out seems to draw to people the abundant qualities they've been seeking.
Yes. And to add to that, I started to just think about what we name abundant. And we sometimes only see abundance as all this good stuff that we want to come into our lives. But since the nature of the universe, in the way that we're talking, is abundant, we can have an abundance of horrible things happening to us. That's
which
the
is what's
dramatic
happening,
other side.
Which is what's happening in the Philippines right now.
Right.
It's not to say that... I'm sure there's some people that might say that God smite them.
Or they attracted it to themselves or something like that.
But there is definitely a thing of I love that you brought this up, Todd, because there is that light and dark side of life. You know, there is all the goodness, but there's also that shadow side, and so it takes both of those components to create the whole, to create the entire experience of life. That's like what we're watching right now. We're coming into winter. The leaves are falling. The trees are going to be fallow. Everything is going to seem as if it's dead.
Well, I have a funny example.
All
and
right.
I often become the guinea pig here, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have a luxury problem right now. That luxury problem is a mass remodel in our house. We're redoing the floors, and so everything that was carpet previously is becoming either laminate or tile. And what that means is we have to empty everything out so the furniture can be moved. So it's basically like we're moving in our own house.
Oh my
'Cause
goodness.
everything, 90% of our stuff has to be packed away and put into the garage. And what I'm getting to here is the abundance of stuff that we have. So much stuff. Do we need it? I mean, that's another conversation, but so what I've been doing in this process, as opposed to just being stressed out, and there's a little bit of that in there, is to account for it and to know that these floors, like how wonderful I live in a place that, you know, we can actually afford to do this, that the floors will be done, and we can restart, we can reboot, we can feng shui, if you will, you know, make it clear the space and now, do I feel that way every second of the time I'm lugging boxes out of the house? No. Is my daughter upset and not understanding everything that's happening? Yes. But I'm trying to use this whole opportunity to experience the real abundance in my life. And
I'm seeing that what you said is that you're witnessing how much you do have.
Right. That's what made me also think about the upside and the downside. It's great. And then there's all this, you know, stuff, this responsibility. Sometimes there's plenty of stuff that comes along that I don't even want that I created, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching, now this is not to go down this road, but in the place of recognizing where we hold on to our stuff, you know, I was watching the reality show Hoarders. Oh my God! I know I can't open.
That's what my garage looks like. Right?
I can't open up that can of worms. I know I can't with you, Todd, but
it's fine. It's true.
But I, you know, and how these people hold on to things that they think are so important, and what happens is it devastates their lives in relationships. You know, their family wants nothing to do with them, or their family wants them to be different or be fixed or whatever. And how much does that really occur in our lives where we're holding on so tight that we are shutting down our ability to connect with other people in an authentic way, in a way that's real and honest and loving, and the people that want to connect with us, you know, because we're holding on so tight to whether it's stuff or
relationship.
Yeah, or ugly emotional anger, resentment, fear, and it just shuts us down so that abundant flow that we are, that place of generous spirit has no expression anymore. And then it goes sideways, right?
And it's like the thing you were saying earlier about, you know, this is the only way it could be. When you were, I think, wanted to be a television actress, and it has to look like this, it has to look like this. How many relationships have I done it? And, you know, it has to be this one. It has to look like this. And thank God that relationship never worked out. You know,
thank God, yeah.
But, you know, it had claw marks all over it, but before I was done with it. But then in later years, I'd say, oh, my God, what was I thinking?
Yeah. And so then that goes back to gratitude, right? So becoming aware and grateful for the things that maybe didn't transpire the way you wanted, you know, even though at the time it was devastating that it, you know, certainly myself, and I've been talking to, over the last year, many individuals that are going through divorce, and because that's what I've been going through, and the feeling of loss. And then when you get past it enough, there's this place of gratitude of, oh, okay, I am better off that relationship is complete and behind me, as opposed to having stayed in it for longer than was good for either one of us, and so in the out of the darkness there is, I want to say there's always good that comes out of the darkness, but that's maybe a little too Pollyanna-ish.
I don't know. I hear that, and I do believe it. I mean, right now I believe it because I'm with you, and you're so great. And it's like, oh, my hour with Susan. But I do believe it. I do believe it. I'm not going to use super controversial examples, but there are some pretty hardcore things that happen to people, and when they are able to transcend it, many of those people will say, I am so glad this happened to me. And
that's the thing that inspires me, as we're watching what's happening in the Philippines after this typhoon hit, and we're going to see just this generosity of spirit that's going to surge forth. There's always amazing stories that come out of these situations. When the hurricane hit the East Coast last year, and was devastating communities, the East Coast of the United States, there were so many stories of people helping other people and helping them get to whatever rescue area or food and clothing place.
Heroic stories, yes.
Yes, and I just, human beings are remarkable. Mm-hmm. And we are so fortunate to be on this planet at this particular time, so that we can, with the internet and all the interconnectedness of technology that we have, so that we can really see what's happening on the other side of the planet, and that we can participate in supporting the recovery of the other side, and supporting the growth of small communities, or supporting the growth of and help of awakening awareness for human rights, for women's rights, for everybody to become aware that we're all connected.
Oh, talk about abundance. Yeah, the internet certainly does reflect that. And yeah, we know everything instantaneously now. Whereas, not that long ago, it was like somebody had to ride a horse from Philadelphia to Boston to how many days would that take to get really important information out?
And so the smaller communities they became their own little enclave, and you had to be self-supporting within your small community because you weren't connected to a larger community that maybe had funding or resources or food. Now, we can send support and help to the Philippines that is in great need of it, because we're connected and because people are watching and people care. Instantaneously at
rescue.org.
Rescue.org.
90% of the money will get there.
Will get there immediately. And the other thing about that organization, which is the International Rescue Committee, is that they do ongoing help. They're committed to not just giving support in the moment of the actual accident or tragedy, but they also know that it's going to take ongoing over the next year or two. So the money that we donate now will be then given out over the course of several months. And you can go back into their site, rescue.org, and give more money. And I would invite us all to maybe make that a monthly generosity point, where you are in your commitment to be generous of spirit in order to give out, knowing that as you give, you will receive more good into your life. Maybe that becomes a monthly thing of just going to rescue.org, seeing what they're trying to source, and give a donation.
Yeah, or they may even have a way to set that up for you, as a lot of nonprofits do. Yeah.
Oh. See, I don't know much about that.
Become a member kind of thing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And then there's the other way, which I was talking about earlier, about kiva.org, which is the micro lending program that's happening around the world now, where you can give $25 a month. $25. I go through $25 just buying myself a Starbucks.
Right.
That's pathetic. But anyway, but $25 to kiva.org, KIVA.org, and I can support a woman on the other side of the planet who wants to have a business in her community so she can put a roof over her kids and, feed them and all that and send them to college. Hey, I am really good with that. Why not?
Absolutely.
And you can go on to the kiva.org website and see. It's also, they also do like, you can donate money to scholarship people so they can then get a better education to have a job that will be more sustainable for them.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
And I think it's important that people know that, we're just giving 2 examples here, and they're great examples, and people feel free to go to them. But find something that we feel passionate about, and that's what's going to really open up the floodgates in our direction. It works, the whole circulation.
Yeah, you know what? I love that you said that. Find something that you're passionate about. And it does, in going back to the idea of generosity, of giving out to, it has to be something that you give to that excites you and that makes you feel good. If you give because you think you're supposed to something, like, okay, I'm going to go give to the American Red Cross because I'm supposed to, that you're not going to feel good. It has to be something that makes you feel good about yourself. Because again, that goes back to the law of circulation. Because then if you feel good, then you're going to give that out again to people, and you're going to draw to you the very thing that you're seeking, the very thing that you want to be sourced by. And that's why gratitude plus generosity equals abundance. And that's what we're talking about for the next few weeks on Living Your Inspired Life, this idea of gratitude and generosity and how that is going to absolutely fuel your life. Not only in the external world, like so I can pay my bills kind of thing, but in your inner world where you begin to feel good about yourself. And then this brings me back to my question at the beginning of where am I generous with myself? So if I'm generous, if I can be generous with other people and give into a place that I feel good about, then I begin to feel good about myself. And as I begin to feel good about myself, then I begin to see what other possibilities there might be in my life that I could participate in or act on that will, again, fuel me feeling even better about myself.
And for many people, we talk about money being linked. Everybody thinks about money and abundance. But for many people, when they get to the point that you're talking about, there are no more concerns about money.
Yeah.
It's there. It's not there. It's because it's not about the money.
Looking forward to that time, hey? I'm looking forward to that time. That'll be nice. Yeah. So I'm feeling like complete. How about you?
Yes.
For today.
Very much so.
So I just want to remind everybody, go to rescue.org to donate, to send money to the Philippines so that the people that are going there to do the work that needs to happen for the cleanup and the sustainability and the help that those people so desperately need, they have that source. And then also go to livingyourinspiredlife.org and stay posted on what we're doing, because that our mission is to invite you to tune into yourself so that you can tune up and align with the truth of who you are and really develop a power perspective that helps you to live the life you were born to live.
Yes, and if you want to support Susan's website, you can donate there too as well.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that. Wow, that's so generous of you, Todd.
Another nonprofit you can support.
Thank you. So Todd Waddington, thanks for joining me today. And until next week, I am just going to say, and so it is. Namaste.
Namaste.